I spent over $8,400 on paid ads in the past few years. And in this video, I'm going to talk about if it was even worth it, how much revenue I made, and I am going to share some big, painful lessons that I've learned along the way. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to share my best and worst performing ads with you so you know which ads to avoid. Let's get into the video. All right, so before I walk you through the numbers, let me just walk you through the business first so that you understand what exactly I do. The first thing that I do is I do digital marketing consulting. So I basically help business owners that are looking for more leads online. I show them what to do and I show them how to run their own ads. The second thing that I do, and this is one of my biggest revenue generators, is I actually have a digital marketing course that I sell where people can learn how to run their own ads. And last but not least, I do a lot of website and landing page designs on the side. So those are my biggest sources of revenue in the business. But I also have a lot of small little streams running in the business as well. So I've got affiliate marketing, I've got YouTube monetization, I've got a bunch of small digital products, and I also do website hosting. And last but not least, there's the odd job. Like, for example, if somebody wants analytics set up for their website, I help them with that type of stuff. But those are small income streams. They're just little passive streams that kind of run alongside my big revenue streams in the business. So now that you understand exactly how my business works, let's get into the figures. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down my revenue figures into years just so you can see how much I spent every year on ads and how much the business made in total. So in year number one, I spent $84 on ads and the company made $3,951. Now at this time, I was spending most of my money on Facebook ads. There was something called My Opportunity. I don't think it's around anymore. I was also spending a lot of money on junk mail ads. And I went door to door trying to sell websites. And if you haven't tried it, I recommend that you don't, because it's a horrible way of selling websites and I barely sold any. So that was basically what I did in my first year. I was a new business owner and I was trying to basically figure out how I was going to get clients. My second year in business, the business actually did worse. I spent $240 on ads and the company revenue was $2,617 total for the year. Now, I will say this is a 33% decrease on what I did in my first year, but I was hospitalized 3 times. And I'll explain why in the lessons learned section, but just know it was the most horrible business year of my life. And I was using Facebook ads, Twitter ads, and I started to use a little bit of Google ads in my business. Now, let's move on to year number 3. Year number 3, I spent $305 on ads. The company revenue total was $3,977, and I was spending most of my money on Twitter ads and also Google ads, but it was basically a 51% increase revenue-wise on what I did the previous year. Right now, moving on to year number 4. This is where it starts to get good. I spent $220 on ads and the company revenue increased to $8,964 and I was exclusively using Google Ads. Now, this resulted in a 125% increase in revenue. And notice I only spent about half as much on ads as I did in year 3. Now, my revenue increased substantially, but there's a lot of stuff that I did on the back end of my business as well. And I'll talk about that, like I said, later on in this video. Moving on to year number 5. Year number 5, I spent $638 on ads and I made back $12,285 with Google Ads, and that is a 37% increase. Just bear in mind that when I say I made back these figures with ads, sometimes the ads worked really well. Other times the conversion tracking was broken, so I wasn't really sure if it was the ads generating my revenue or the organic content that was generating my revenue. So I'll also cover that a little bit later on. But no, I spent the most on ads that I ever spent in business that particular year. All right, moving on to year 6. Year 6, I spent $2,404 on ads and I made back $30,000 $198. I spent most of my advertising budget on Google ads, Twitter ads, Facebook ads, and I did a couple of networking events as well. And what this led to was a 145% increase in revenue. But I will say this, I was spending 4 times more on ads, and I was expecting to get a 4 times growth in revenue, and it just didn't shape up that way. In fact, most of the time the ads weren't working. They were actually losing money. But I'll tell you more about that when I get to the ad breakdown. All right, so that was year 6. Year 7, I spent $2,158 on ads, and I made back $31,616. And that's with Google ads and email marketing, and that's a 4% increase over what I did in year 6. But I will say this was kind of where my business was plateauing, and I knew I had to do something. So whenever my business isn't growing, I know there's a lesson that I need to learn. And so I would say year 7 was my year that I needed to learn a lesson. I knew that there was something that I was doing wrong. Moving on to year 8, and this is the most recent year that just passed, I spent $2,223 on ads, and the total company revenue was $44,989. I spent most of it on Google ads and Facebook ads, and that resulted in a 42% increase in my overall revenue. And last but not least, year 9, that's $162 spent thus far, and we're at about $14,000 total in revenue. Obviously, this is the ongoing year, it's the current year, and most of my money is being spent on Google ads and Facebook ads. And that leads us to the total. If I go over my entire business history, I've spent $8,438.60 on ads, and the total company revenue was $152,802.11. But it's not that simple. We still need to get into the ads, and I still need to explain to you some of the lessons that I learned about running paid ads. But for now, I want to share my ad data with you. So the most accurate data that I have is from my Google Ads account. This is where the conversion tracking is set up mostly properly. This is where the analytics are good, and this is where you can really see the revenue numbers in action. So what I'm going to do is I am going to share with you my best and worst performing Google ad. I should also mention this, there are different types of Google ads that you can run. It's not all just the ones that you see on the Google search page, and I'll explain to you how they work while I share these numbers with you. All right, so the first type of Google ad that I ran was called a Performance Max. Now, how Performance Max works is this is Google's new AI ad, and it kind of shows your ad all over the internet. In Gmail, in Newsfeed, it shows it on YouTube, it shows it on the search page, it shows it on random websites and mobile apps as well. And because it shows my ad everywhere, the performance wasn't really that good. So the amount I spent on Performance Max ads was about $138, and the leads that I got was only about 4 leads, and my cost per lead was $34.60. Like I said, this is my worst performing ad, and also the conversion rate was 0.36%. So not very impressive. I highly recommend that you don't run these ads if you're looking for leads. The second type of ad that I was running was your demand gen ad. And what these look like is basically if you go to Gmail and you look under your promotions folder, you'll see that there's 2 messages at the top that are usually sponsored. Those are basically demand gen ads. And when I ran demand gen ads, I spent $540 on demand gen. I got 24 leads back, and my cost per lead was $22.49, and my conversion rate was 0.17%. Now, moving on to banner ads. Banner ads are the ads that you see whenever you're on a website or a blog. Those are the ones that usually pop up all over the place. Sometimes they can be annoying on news websites because you're trying to read the article, but the banner ads are just flooding the screen. So with banner ads, I spent $321 on banner ads. I got 19 leads. My cost per lead was actually pretty good. It was about $16.87. And my conversion rate was 0.88%, right? And now we're going to get into the good stuff. These are my 2 best performing ads. So the runner-up is search ads. So these are your traditional AdWords. When you go to the Google page and you search for something, these ones would pop up. I spent $2,008 on search ads. I got 138 leads, and my cost per lead was $14.56. Not only that, but my conversion rate was 9.47%. And that's the highest conversion rate across all my campaigns. Now, this is by far my favorite ad campaign to run. If you just brand new to business and you just want to start getting leads, I highly recommend you choose search ads. And the nice thing about this is that 9.47% number that you see, that's actually my worst performing campaigns and my best performing campaigns, all of them combined. So this is not just one campaign. This is a lot of campaigns, because what I was doing is sometimes I'd start the campaign, I would run it for 2 weeks. And other times I would just stop the campaign and I would just run out of money, or I wouldn't get any good leads. So I would have to go and start a new campaign or try a different campaign out. And so these are all of my campaigns combined. All right. Last but not least, my best ad that I ran for my business are video ads. And the nice thing about video ads is they're cheap, they're affordable. You probably saw a few while watching this YouTube video. These are just your normal skippable YouTube ads. Now, I spent $2,543 on those ads, and I got 266 leads back, and my cost per lead was $9.56. So very affordable, and my average conversion rate was 0.47%, but it didn't really matter because the leads that I was getting was so cheap that I didn't really care that the ad wasn't converting all that well. In fact, YouTube ads never really do convert that well. So I highly recommend this ad if you're running a course or a teaching program. This is by far the best type of ad to run. So in total, the amount that I spent on Google Ads was $5,551, and the amount of leads I got is 451 leads. And my average cost per lead, I would say, would be around $12. Now, you'll notice that I didn't put in all my ad spend, and that's because I had some ads on Facebook ads, some on Twitter ads. I think once upon a time, I tried a LinkedIn ad out. So if you want details on those and how much I got back on my cost per lead, just ask me any question down below and I'll gladly answer it for you. Like I said, the data might be a little bit shoddy because my conversion tracking wasn't set up right, but I'll try and give you a fair answer to your question. So let's talk about some hard lessons that I learned while running paid ads. Number one, ads are only going to amplify whatever it is that's happening in your business. If you have a chaotic business, your ads are just going to bring more chaos. So I'll paint this picture for you. Back in the year 2 of my business, the one where I made my least revenue ever, I was doing everything. I was doing logo design, email signature. I was doing posters, pamphlets, leaflets. I was doing every single thing. I was doing LinkedIn marketing for people. I was doing Facebook ads for people. Because my business was all over the place and I had so many products and so many services, when I ran ads, they just increased the amount of jobs that I'd get. So instead of being a very focused business, what would happen is every new client would need something new. I would then spend days, sometimes weeks, learning the new thing just to provide a simple product for them, like email signatures. I didn't know how to design an email signature, but then I had to go and learn how to do it because one of my new clients wanted it. And at the time, I did not know how to say no to money. That's one of the things you have to learn in business. You actually have to learn how to say no to money. So I struggled. I struggled a lot. And this is where paid ads did not help because they just added more and more clients that wanted more different things. I ended up being so stretched that I ended up working 20-hour days, 7 days a week. And eventually I landed up in hospital 3 times with signs of burnout. So I do not recommend running ads if you have a chaotic business. However, in year 4, I kind of got my act together and I decided I was going to let go of 90% of our products and services, and I was going to go all in on just being a digital marketing consultant. And that's where I really had that massive shift in my business where the revenue grew by 125%. And the best news is, although I was actually spending less on ads, now, because my business was focused and it wasn't so chaotic, I was actually making more money. So always try and run a simplified business. Don't run a business or don't run ads to a business when you know you have 50 different products and services. It hardly ever works based on what I've seen and based on my 8 years of experience. All right, so lesson number 2. Organic content will outperform paid ads in the long run. Now, this pains me to say this as a Google Ads expert and somebody who's built a YouTube channel around Google Ads, but organic content is really where it's at if you want better quality customers. You see, how it works is whenever you advertise or you run ads, you're basically running those ads to a cold audience. People who don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you yet. And so what I found works best is a hybrid strategy where you're making a whole bunch of videos, but you're also making paid ads and you're kind of using them to complement one another. What I did not know is every time somebody clicks on your ads, they don't buy immediately. They go into this research phase where they go on YouTube or they maybe go and read a couple of reviews and then only they decide to work with you. So if I could go back 9 years back, I would make 20 YouTube videos. I would then wait for those YouTube videos to get a couple of views, and then I would run paid ads to people who have already seen those YouTube videos, because those people will know, they'll like, and they'll trust me. And that way it's going to be so much easier to close deals versus just running a paid ad. And the best thing about this is I've actually seen this in real life where somebody would come from my YouTube channel and they would spend $5, $10,000 with me easily just because they've watched a couple of my YouTube videos first and they feel like they know me and they feel like they trust me. Whereas with paid ads, people are usually like, send me an estimate, send me a quote, let me think about it, let me get back to you. So people from paid ads are generally going to be harder to sell to. So that being said, I want you to use both. Use a hybrid strategy. It's not about just paid ads. Do paid ads, but also build a brand so that when people do research, they actually find content that you're making in your business. Lesson number 3, I'm going to keep this super simple. I know a lot of you don't sell courses, but if you do sell a course and it's a high ticket course, anything over $1,000, I highly recommend that you don't run paid ads directly to the course. You're better off running ads to a low ticket offer. So for example, a webinar, a free workshop that you may be doing, or maybe like a 5-day challenge for $20. You are going to get so much more value out of doing it that way than doing what I did and losing a couple of $100 trying to send people to my big paid course first. Again, this goes into lesson 2 and what I've been saying about people knowing, liking, and trusting you. They first have to learn about your teaching style. They first have to know that you're the right teacher for them. They first need to know that your ethics are in the right place. They have to trust you to guide them through the process. And that's why you want to run it to the low ticket offer. If you blow money on paid ads and you send it to your high ticket offer because they don't have any reference point for who you are and how you can help them, you're going to find that most of the time your ads just burn through money and they don't work at all. All right, so last but not least, was it worth it? Was it worth running paid ads for my business all these years? I can honestly say, hand on heart, that I am a better business owner today because I ran paid ads. Paid ads have this funny way of amplifying everything that's happening in your business. And the weird thing is, the more they amplify what's happening in your business, you'll easily see what the problems are with different sections of your business. So for example, you might think you have a great website, but when you run paid ads to it, you might find that that website is not converting. And so the paid ads kind of pinpoint all of the problems in your business, in your pipeline, if you will, and it shows you what you should be working on. That is the main reason that I recommend everybody runs paid ads. Even if you start on just $10 or $20 a day, start running paid ads because they're going to help you look at your business more scientifically and not passionately, because I think all of our businesses, our babies, we want our businesses to do well, but it also stops us from seeing the big glaring faults in how we're running our businesses. The second reason why I recommend running paid ads is because it gives you comfort knowing that you can always turn on a switch and start generating more leads in your business. Now, sometimes your ads are going to drive you up the wall. Sometimes your ads are not going to convert, but it's better to have the option to run paid ads and know how to do it than not to be able to run ads at all. And the last reason why I recommend running paid ads, or rather, let me say, this is one of the regrets that I have personally from running paid ads, is I wish that I didn't stop and switch ad platforms so much. I wish I just went all in on Google Ads and not jump around to every single ad platform, because every single week there's a new YouTube video that says TikTok ads are where it's at and everybody goes there. And then it says Facebook ads are where it's at and everybody goes there. And I was one of those people who was jumping from platforms to platform. What I should have done is I should have had one main campaign that I was just working on, focusing on my messaging, focusing on my ideal client, and I should have just spent every single month making that one campaign better and better and better and better. Instead, what I did was I hopped around and I found myself having to start over again in a new ad campaign, and it's just messy. So I highly recommend that if you're going to do this, focus on one campaign, get that campaign right, and then just add more and more campaigns to it. If you enjoyed this video and you don't know where to start with this whole paid ads thing, I basically made a whole workshop for you. All you need to do is click down below. You will get my high converting ads workshop, where I basically break down all of the embarrassing hard lessons that I've learned while going through this paid ads journey. I'm also going to share with you a blueprint on how you can build a high converting Google ad in less than 7 days. So if that's something you're interested in, link is in the description below. Last but not least, thank you so much for hanging out with me and spending all of this time watching my videos, going through this revenue. Oh, it's been so hard to put this video together, but I really thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you have any questions, write them down below. What I'm also going to do with you is I am going to share this video on where to start if you want to get started with paid ads. I will see you next time. Peace.